Hey. Welcome. This is Mae Renfroe with you this evening, coming live. Hey, yes, welcome to this video. Welcome to my channel. I'm so glad you're here. And I just wanted to do this video to talk about being a people of courage and encouraging you to walk in courage in whatever it is that you're doing. And, like for instance, today, I was on another podcast and interview, and I'm so glad to always do that. Just love that, and I'll talk about it more. But it comes with a little bit of nervousness sometimes, and for me. And then, like to do this video, I was gonna do just a short, and I wasn't gonna have it live. It just didn't turn out the way I wanted. So I'm like, well, I'm just gonna go live and do it, and this will help with my message. It takes a lot of courage for me to go live. Usually every time I get a little intimidated, I keep putting it off, and then I'm like, no, I'm just gonna do it. And every time I do it, God gives me the words to say, and it usually goes very well. So um yes, here I am. I'm talking about having courage. And like I said, like earlier today when I did my podcast interview, and it just didn't go the way I'd hoped it did, and I felt like, "Oh, no," almost worried that I blew it, though she said that I didn't. At the end, we had a chit chat after, and I think she honestly did feel like it went well, and so then that helped me to feel good. But it was kind of where you almost get a feeling like, "Why am I doing this? I'm not gonna do this again." But there's no way I'm gonna go there, because that would be the enemy wanting to try to stop me from sharing my stories, what I do on podcasts, and sharing about the goodness and the faithfulness of God. And I know He wants me to share that, because that's what He's told us, right? To uh, be ready to give, talk about the hope. What is that verse? Talk about your faith, but go into all the world and preach the gospel. There's that one too, and we know that we're to be a light, always, all the time. And so, but at times like that, when you can get discouraged and it almost be like, okay, that's it, I'm not doing that again. So I wanted to share, to get on here, to give others courage. And I got thinking about people in the Bible, and that God didn't tell us, like, didn't call those that absolutely had no fear and had it all together, but He looked for the people and called the people that said, "Here I am, Lord, send me." Those that was willing to be willing vessels for Him. That's who He was looking for, and that's who He's looking for today. Me and you, that is willing to say, "I'm in. I may be nervous, but I'm still going to do it. I may be afraid, but I'm still going to do it." And just to step out in courage, step out in faith. And when we do that, He uses that. And I'm drinking to many people in the Bible, and then of course we know the saying, right? He doesn't call the qualified, but He qualifies the called. So He qualifies those and equips those that He calls. And again, it's those that are saying, "I'm in, Lord, I'm willing, send me." That He knows before He even, lays it on the heart, even reaches out to them, whatever it may be. He already knows that they're willing, and they're willing to go all in for Him. Um, and he's told us, time and time again, do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. I'm with you. Anytime that He would talk to His people and send them to do something, do not be afraid. Be of good courage. And yeah, there's so many people in the Bible and examples of ones that just didn't feel they were equipped, but they were willing, I guess, to do it. God knew that. I have several here. Gideon, and what God called him to do. And he was hiding behind the wine press, I believe it was. And he was very afraid. God didn't call him and by like saying, Gideon, the one that is afraid. He said mighty warrior. He called him by his potential, but what he knew he was capable of doing with God, with him. And God never sent him out by themselves, right? God was going with him. He's like, "I go with you. I'm going with you." He he fought for them, for their battles. I don't know how I want to word that, but just like God fought their battles for them. Really, he needed use them, but it was he. Oh, especially in this situation with Gideon, he narrowed down Gideon's army so small that they knew that it wasn't them. It wasn't them, it was God, and they knew it. They could tell it. They couldn't do it without God. And so he never got them to do something um just on their own. He was always with them. And then Joshua, and I love that. I'm going to read some verses out of Joshua. But here was someone that he knew was willing to do and to go to had the courage to do what God wanted him to do. And I love how he instructed him to be of good courage. In Joshua 9, so you could just read all of Joshua 1, is so good. But yeah, Joshua 1 and then verse 9. Have I not commanded thee, be strong and of a good courage, be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed, for the Lord thy God is with thee wherever thou goest. Wow, wow, I love that. And the very last piece of the last verse of chapter 1, it says, only be strong and of good courage. And then verses 5 and 6. There shall not be any man be able to stand before thee all the days of thy life. As I was with Moses, so will I be with thee. I will not fail thee nor forsake thee. Be strong and of good courage, for unto the people thou shalt thou divide for inheritance the land which I swear unto their fathers to give them. Only be thou strong and courageous. I just read the first part of verse 7, but that is so good to read that. So he just commanded them to be strong and be courageous. And he's like, as I was with Moses, I will be with you. And Moses, again, was a very, courageous man. He had a huge responsibility and he stepped into it. I was believing that God was going to be with him. And with Moses, he had what is termed as a speech impediment. He didn't feel good about being able to talk to the people. When he was being sent, God said to go to Pharaoh to set my people free. And he wanted his brother to go with him. God sent his brother to go along with him as a companion, as kind of a spokesperson. Um, and then that's so neat, see, God was not leaving him on his own. He always sent somebody to equip, I mean, to go with him. Yeah, he was whipping them for what he wanted them to do. And so many examples of that in the Bible. So many other people. Let's see if I can think of many, but I'm sure you can, of all the people in the Bible that God worked through, that he used to bring about the things that need to be brought about. It was just people that was willing vessels, that was able to trust in him and just cling to the promises, and knowing that God was going to be with them. They didn't see the way, they didn't know how it was going to work. They couldn't see it for themselves, but they just stepped out in faith. And that's where faith comes in. We walk not by sight, walk by faith, not by sight. Okay. So well, I wish I had that verse about, you know, we can't you can't see the outcome, but you can know if God's promised you something. So you don't go by what can be seen, but you go by what cannot be seen. Well, what can be seen is temporal, and that's what you see. But God's got something else he's working out, right? And so he's done that time and time again. And boy, it just has to really be a person of courage, and just to trust God and keep clinging to God. And like Noah building the ark, can you imagine building an ark, building this huge boat, being obedient, building that boat out in the desert? They didn't even know what rain was at that time, and he's building this boat and just had to keep uh, trusting God. And when he's being mocked, and made fun of and all this, and he had to keep trusting that God's got a plan somehow. God said, so he's doing it. He's being obedient. And it was year after year after year of working on that ark and being obedient. And then when he was all through and it was time, how God sent the animals, they get on the boat, they close and the doors, and here comes the rain. And wow, so God's looking for a people that he can use like that are willing to say, here I am, use me. I might be afraid, and I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know how it's going to go, but I know that you're with me. And so I'm in. I'm in. And he gives us that courage and that boldness. He gives us his spirit in us, gives us a boldness that we wouldn't normally have. I like in Acts, where the disciples went out after Jesus' crucifixion and was taken up to be with God, that they received the Holy Spirit and they received a boldness to go out and share the gospel and to share that hope that was with them and to be able to tell about Jesus and who he is and what was to come and what he had done for us, and so God gives us that same courage, but he just needs us to be willing. So I just wanted to share that because there's so many things that gets us intimidated, and we may think, that's just not for us. That's for someone else. That's for that other person that seems to have it all together. That's for our favorite speaker that we see speaking here or there. That's for them. It's not for me. And that's not exactly so. If God has called all of us to share the gospel in some way, shape, or form, right? To be a light to others and to bring hope uh, and to talk about his goodness and his faithfulness in our life in some way, and whatever way it might be, he's called us all to do that. And so then we just have to step out and be willing, and we know that he is going to equip us. He doesn't send us out alone. So whether we have to do it afraid, just do it, and we have something that someone else needs. Satan wants to, to stop that, saying, "Oh no, you can't. You're not good enough." Like I said, leave it up to someone else. He wants to stop that, right? He came to steal, kill, and destroy. God come to give us life and life abundant. So we just got to trust that he's with us, because he is with us always, all the time, and he'll give us the words to speak, he said. And I know it helps to be more prepared. I mean, we could have been more prepared this afternoon when I did that podcast interview. I did have a whole lot of notes out and it looked really good on paper, but when it came to sharing, I was kind of at a loss. Oh, where do I start on my notes? Because I didn't have a particular, to a particular question. It was kind of like all in there, and it was all really good stuff. But it was like, oh, I'm grabbing here and grabbing there. So that's why. So I know the more you're prepared, and that definitely can be easier, but we're just going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep sharing my light. I'm so excited for all the opportunities I have to share um, about the goodness of God and what he's done in my life, and that hope that I have that is so great, and the peace that I have that he carried me through our difficult time of losing our son in 2017. And I'm going to keep sharing that. I keep looking for more and more opportunities. I have more podcast interviews coming up. I have a few that I've done that isn't released yet. One that was just released on Sunday, and definitely try to look those up. And one recently that just dropped on Sunday was from the Life Stories podcast, so you can check that out. Other great stories on there as well. And um, I'm just looking for more opportunities, and I know that God is with me, and he is with you as well. He'll give you the courage. Just be willing to say, "I'm in. I'm yours. Send me." All right. Well, take care. God bless. I hope this has been encouragement, and come back for more great videos. Take care and God bless.